My parents divorced when I was 7 after my mom found out Dad had been cheating on her for 5 years with someone she considered her friend. The reveal of the affair came during my birthday party, which we celebrated late because Dad made up some story about an old friend dying and going to the funeral when he was actually with her for an ultrasound after learning she was pregnant. Another element of this story is that the affair started after my mom almost lost my sibling. The pregnancy went badly wrong and nearly took her, and did take her chance to have more children. All the while, her husband and friend were getting together behind her back. My mom never got over what they did to her. What made it worse is 2 people betrayed her instead of 1, because if our friends are willing to hurt us like this, we're screwed. My dad married his affair partner. They have 6 children together now. My mom has stayed away from them as much as humanly possible. She told me a long time ago that she loved me, wanted me to be happy and loved and not to be distant from them for her, but that she would never be able to play happy families with my dad and his wife and their kids because some hurts are too deep and too painful to move on from. When stay in place was ordered, things between my mom and dad deteriorated after my dad asked if mom would take his other 6 kids into her home so the siblings could see each other, since both he and his wife were frontline workers and had planned to send them somewhere to limit their exposure. Mom said no. She was furious at Dad for asking, while Dad was furious that she didn't force me to go to his in-laws to spend time with my siblings while we weren't legally allowed to meet up with others. Things are the same now, only my mum suffered less financially through the pandemic. After a while, my dad and his wife left their jobs when it got too much, and their financial stability took a huge hit. My dad couldn't afford to throw a graduation party for me, which is fine, but he and his family are not welcome at the one my mom is hosting. He complained about them missing out on celebrating with me because of my mom. I told it was because of his affair and not my mom. He was the one who betrayed her repeatedly, disrespected her, and then expected her to act as though none of that happened so he could act like the good guy. He told me it had been a decade and my mom and I should be over it, and that I shouldn't have taken sides. I told him he should have kept the affair from me then instead of letting it come out for me to hear. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your dad has some bloody audacity. Oh, I cheated on you with your friend, now take in my 6 kids I have with her. Why do you even still speak to this guy? He's incredibly insensitive and doesn't think he ever did anything wrong. Good for you for sticking up for your mum and not taking your dad's BS. It's even worse because he started cheating on his ex when she became infertile and lost a child. Honestly, if I found out my dad was like this, I wouldn't want to be around him until they read his will after his funeral. Wow, kudos to you for speaking up for your mum. What kind of self-entitled idiot is he to expect your mum to even consider taking his kids from his affair to her home or inviting them for a graduation party she is hosting? Ask your dad to stop living in his imaginary fairy tale where cheating is okay because it's 10 years ago and stop spewing nonsense like not having the right to be hurt just because it's been 10 years. Ugh, who is your dad to tell someone else how long they can grieve for? He destroyed your mom's life. Screw him, he made his bed and now he can sleep in it. I really hate people who use the old, "it was so long ago." Those are the absolute worst. No remorse, no apologies. They just expect you to get over the horrible things they've done because time heals all. OP, when you see your mom next time, could you hug her and tell her internet strangers think she's a damn queen, and the crap she's put up with gives you both every right to drop that loser. My old granddad used to say any clown can be a father, but it takes a real man to be a dad. Your father isn't a real man. Lots of love to you and your mom. I wish your dad the day he deserves. He's definitely the idiot. So I, 25 female, and my wife, 23, have a toddler daughter. And recently my wife's best friend has been living with us because she had nowhere else to go. With her, she brought her red-tailed boa. We set up the boa's enclosure in the living room because that was the best space for her. Our living room is large and we have a higher-up shelf that's perfect for the enclosure. Now, the issue is her friend is not a good pet owner. She's constantly leaving the doors open to the enclosure and we'll just randomly come out and see her snake in random places. We've both warned her that if she continues to do this, she won't be welcome in our home any longer. Well, recently she went out of town and promised she'd properly shut the enclosure doors. We believed her, and she went on her way. Later that day, my wife was making lunch while our daughter watched her TV show in the living room. Suddenly she heard our daughter crying, and when she ran in there, she saw the snake was out of the enclosure and had tagged our daughter, who was screaming on the floor. My wife put the snake up quickly and called me at work saying she was taking our daughter to urgent care because she was scared she'd need stitches. She thankfully did not. We called her friend and told her this was the last straw, we're rehoming her snake because she bit our daughter. Her friend starts yelling and rushes home, and that's when we tell her we didn't rehome her snake, but we're kicking her out because she can't be a responsible pet owner, and it caused our child pain. She started crying and saying she didn't know what to do, and we told her we were sorry, but she had warnings about this. She called us witches and left, and now my wife's other friends are saying we were overdramatic and mean for not only tricking her but kicking her out as well. Am I the idiot? Edit. I don't blame the snake. We said we were rehoming the snake because we needed a home ASAP. We couldn't lock the enclosure because she had the key for the lock and she wouldn't have come home otherwise. It wasn't to add unnecessary drama. Super obvious, not the idiot. Ha ha ha. Imagine giving a single flying hoot to what any of the friends thought after this other idiot's neglect harmed your child. Tell them all to get a hike. You made it very clear to the friend what was expected of her regarding the pet, and she ignored it. Goodbye. The dang snake bit your child. I feel like I need to clarify here. Were you aware that friend was bringing a big honking snake along for the ride, or was she all like, surprise, when she got to your doorstep? But please don't interpret my snark as anti-snake. Snake gonna snake. Also, I don't blame the snake for the negligence of its owner. Everyone's the idiot. What was she expecting? Snakes are not safe animals to have loose around toddlers. She should have known this and done her due diligence to ensure that it would not become an issue. You're doing her a favor and she's a guest in your home. It's her responsibility to make sure she's not endangering your child. But no sane or competent person allows a boa constrictor near a toddler. Period. Would you rather she be around a viper? Goodness, the woman stays at your house while she gets her stuff together and can't even keep her snake enclosure closed. I can't imagine being that entitled and stupid. All these friends who are upset can take her in. She put her pet and your daughter in danger. It's unacceptable. My son is getting married, and he said that I have to come alone to the wedding, not bring my husband, or I can't come at all. Here's my backstory. I've, 49 male, spent my 20s trying to convince myself that I'm a straight man. During that time, I got a girl, we were 24, pregnant, and we had a son together, now 25. We were never serious, and I told her about my struggles with my identity already before we slept together. Young and stupid, not much to do about it. We didn't get married, but we did raise our son together. He spent every other weekend with me, and I loved every moment of being his father. I met my now husband when I was 35. He's a great guy, and we've been married for 14 years. My son considers him his stepdad. My son's mom jokes about him being her gay best friend. They are very close, and he makes me so happy. My son is getting married to his fiancée in 4 weeks. Just last week I received the wedding invitation, but it didn't mention a +1, so I assumed my husband would get his own. But he didn't, so I called my son's mom and asked her if she got a +1 invitation, and she said yes, she's married too. My son and his fiancée came over for dinner 2 days ago, and I casually asked them about it. My son got a bit embarrassed and said they aren't really inviting step-parents, just their parents. I said that was okay, but his mom told me her husband was invited. His fiancée then said that they would just prefer to have a non-ideological wedding. My husband looked so shocked and I was honestly just hurt. I told her that sounds a bit phobic, to which she replied, I just don't want to deal with this at my wedding. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, you know it's a church wedding. I said, well, we won't burst into flames in the pew. She got upset, demanded they leave, and waited for my son in the car. My son was almost crying and he apologized to me. I told him I love him and he should really cancel or postpone this wedding because this woman is showing behavior that will only get worse. He called me an idiot for interfering in his personal life. His mom says he's old enough to do what he pleases, but what they did to us is wrong. My father, no shock there, thinks I should just man up and be a father at the wedding. My friends say Bridezilla is the idiot, but my brother said I'm an idiot for not respecting my son's wishes about the wedding. So, am I? Your future daughter-in-law is clearly the biggest idiot here. Non-ideological. Like, disinviting gay guys isn't ideology? Give me a break. Telling him to cancel the wedding before he asked your advice was probably a step too far for him. He's got a lot of thinking, and while postponing is definitely sound advice, he's not in the emotional space to hear it. So you're not the idiot per se, but the comment was never going to be taken in the way it needed to be. Honestly, OP, I think you should tell your son that while you can't make the call for him to cancel or postpone his wedding, and you're sorry for how it came out, you have serious worries about this relationship. Let him know his fiancée is being extremely unwelcoming and that you want nothing but his happiness. If he goes through with this wedding, there'll be some serious changes in his relationship with you and your husband. Tell him you love him and always will, but if he's married to someone who sees you and your husband as something to deal with, your son will also be dealing with you a lot less. OP's son is a bigger idiot than the fiancé. Maybe the fiancé was raised in a homophobic home, or her parents brainwashed her by taking her to a fundamentalist church full of haters. On the other hand, maybe, and this is a very big maybe, she's just ignorant and doesn't know any better. OP's son knows better. He is making a deliberate, conscious choice to disrespect his father's marriage and adopt the hate and ignorance of his fiancée. People who marry such idiots are the same idiots. OP must feel so hurt and betrayed by his son choosing to marry a hater. What a bitter disappointment of a son. I, female 35, bought my husband, 37, a PS5 for his birthday a couple of months ago. He was beyond thrilled because he's a gamer, but it's been a while since he gamed. Let me say that the house has been a literal war zone ever since my husband started playing with the PS5. He started having rage fits, cusses a lot, and throws and breaks expensive stuff like headphones, watches, glasses, and his phone. He said it's his normal reaction to being frustrated by losing a round in a game. I told him this is no way to live because the house is in a constant state of anxiety and negativity, and my husband's behaviour, to me, seemed to be worsening because of how easily he could cuss out and lash out now. I told him if gaming makes him this stressed out, then he needs to quit. He was like, okay, I'll try to tone it down from now on, but don't blame me for being frustrated with how messed up these games have become lately. Well, on Tuesday I come home and find the place a mess. $300 game chair was broken and all the stuff on the desk was thrown on the floor. I asked him about what happened and he nonchalantly told me he'd lost a round. I lost it on him and told him that I was done cleaning his mess and paying for a replacement for every item he destroyed, and let him know he ran out of chances and the PS5 had a negative impact and needed to go. He said it had nothing to do with the PS5, so I told him the PS5 needs to be sold to pay for the damages he caused. He threw a fit, but I sold it online. He called me a monster and said that it was selfish of me to return a gift for him. Yeah, I get that it's a gift meant for him, but I also paid for it, and also, I'm the one who has to deal with damages since I'm the breadwinner in the house. He went into shutdown mode and kept sleeping instead of spending time with me. So, am I the idiot for selling my gift? Oh no, that is not a normal reaction to anything. Gaming doesn't have anything to do with the root of his problems with anger and emotional immaturity. Not the idiot. That man needs so much therapy. Not the idiot. Dear Lord, he's lucky you sold the PS5 instead of leaving him. I'm sorry you married a 5-year-old. Actually, no, that's an insult to 5-year-olds. But either way, your husband needs serious help if he loses it that much over a stupid game. Not to mention all of his other ridiculously immature behaviour. And I say that as a lifelong gamer myself. You are the idiot, but only for continuing to have this man in your life. If he cannot control his anger and destroy things when angry, perhaps you should run now until he has the chance to grow up and become less destructive. The problem is not the PlayStation, which I agree with him. You have no right to sell it since it wasn't yours. The problem is him. My parents broke up when I was a tiny baby. Dad ended up with my stepmom before I turned 1, and my siblings are 2 and 4 years younger than me. Dad's family has never really been around. My stepmom's family is the extended family at my dad's. I spent time equally between my parents until I chose to stay primarily with my mom around a year ago. One thing that's always bothered me is that my stepmom and her family point out what a perfect and complete family we are together. They say it on such a regular basis. I've asked them to be considerate of the fact my family isn't complete with just them, and they never listen, because it's our complete family. Even when I point out my mom isn't there, it's dismissed quickly. My dad and I have talked about it. He said it should feel nice that they feel like I complete the family. I told him it's not that way for me, that my mom will always be part of my completed family. I asked him how he would like it if his mom remarried, and I said my complete family was there with them. He never had an answer. So last weekend was my brother's birthday. He's the youngest and they wanted to do a family photo. I was in a pretty crummy mood for part of the day because my stepmom asked me to spend summer with them and travel as they planned. We had a fight because I told her I didn't want to be away from my mom for the entire summer. Then, during the photos, I was told to cheer up by her mom that my whole family was there. I snapped. I corrected her that my whole family was not there, and they needed to stop pushing the idea that my whole family didn't include my mom, that I like being with them less and less because they refuse to acknowledge my whole family is different from theirs. Unlike with my mom, she told me I had an actual family with my dad and stepmom. I told her it was crappy to say my mom was less deserving of being in my family because she chose to stay single and only have me. I said never once has she pretended that she was my whole entire family and tried to cut my dad's out. My brother chimed in and said he always found it weird that they did that and always kind of figured that that was why I chose to live with my mom instead of staying with 50-50. My dad, stepmom and her mom all say I was rude to go off on her like that and told me the time was not the right one. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Apparently years and years of trying to communicate nicely didn't do the trick. It really does seem like there's an element of trying to limit your mum's role in your life, because I can't see why your stepmom wouldn't understand you want part of your summer with your mom. I'm glad your brother sees it. I wonder who of them brings in the insecurity. I mean, there has to be a reason why they always quickly dismiss what you're saying as soon as your mom comes into the picture. In general, they, or maybe just stepmom and dad are going along with it, seem quite obsessed with the idea of having their enclosed, separated family with OP away from mom as she doesn't fit into the perfect picture. So manipulative and immature. I think they keep trying to make you forget about your mom and make this perfect little family unit where you will one day forget your mom and only have them as a family in their little warped fantasy world. You can have two complete families. They don't have to keep rubbing in your face that only theirs is your complete family. They need to show respect to you and your mother as well. Talk to your dad and stepmother and explain that the further they try and push your mom out of the picture, the further they will end up pushing you away.